Welcome to the Aries Girl Podcast. I'm your host, Aries Ramsey. All commentary provided in this video is alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only, under the guidance of the Fair Use Act of 1976. Well, now that we have that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into the show. This week's episode is entitled Waiting to Ex-Wife, and it could pertain to several cast members. At first, Tricia comes to mind because she is still legally married. However, it could also be referring to Melody. Despite being divorced from Martel, he hasn't fully let go of her, which is preventing her from being an ex-wife in every sense of the word. Plus, we could also be a little messy and say that it pertains to Destiny, who, in my opinion, is secretly hoping that Sunny becomes an ex-wife so she can feel vindicated, and maybe even get back with Moses. Even a blind person could see that Destiny is still head over heels for Moses. She wants that old flame back, the way H-Town reminds us in Knockin' to Boots.
I want that old flame back.
Let's move on. The episode picks back up with Destiny and Moses at the Mexican restaurant. They just go back and forth with one another, and Destiny calls Moses a liar. Blah, blah, blah. We all know that Destiny doesn't have a good relationship with the truth. The truth just isn't in her. However, we did learn that she was flying every other weekend to see him in St. Louis, but she somehow missed his birthday in April. And Moses paid for the flights? In Destiny's confessional, she claims that Moses stopped showing up as the man he sold himself to be, so it made her pull away. She was hurt that she decided to move forward without him. I'm thinking that Moses decided to move on without Destiny, but we'll just let Destiny live in the land of make-believe that she has created for herself. She isn't the only person in this cast that's delusional. Back in scene, she says that she asked him to step up and be a man, but he stabbed her in her back. Of course, Moses says that he didn't do that, and I'm with Moses on this one. Maybe he was tired of supporting Destiny. He told her that the weight of what she had going on in her life was too heavy. Destiny, girl, listen to me. He wanted an asset, not a liability. And you were definitely a liability. You brought nothing to the table except your appetite. And it isn't everyone's responsibility to feed you. Nobody cares that he decided to name his business after a baby name that the two of you picked out in happier times. The word justice is pretty common, and Destiny should know this since she is so familiar with getting arrested and going back and forth to court. Well, maybe LB is actually more familiar with the word justice than Destiny. Let's move on. As Destiny was losing the argument, she literally dismissed Moses, but he clapped back and told her that she was dismissed. She looked relieved when he got up and left. I think she wanted to be alone with that drink and all of the food that she probably ordered. In the second scene, Tisha heads to the gym to meet up with Tricia. In Tisha's confessional, she admits that she doesn't know Tricia that well. She's seen her twice, once at Black and once at the gym. Back in scene, she compliments Tricia's body by saying that the body is bodying. She wants to work out with her to get the same results for herself. I guess Tisha is tired of getting mommy makeovers and BBLs. Let's move on. We watch Tisha attempt to work out for a bit in scene, and trust me, the key word here is attempt. We are taken back to Tisha's confessional, where she admits that she didn't know the first workout would be like that, but she keeps telling herself that beauty is pain. Back in the scene, apparently, Tisha was being worked out so hard that she needed a water break. Of course, nosy-ass Tisha asks Tricia if she is from Huntsville instead of just drinking her water, and Tricia's response is, I know Martel. You got it. Tricia didn't say, I was born and raised in Huntsville, or, I've lived here all my life. She said, I know Martel. Lord ham mercy. You can see right through this scripted scene. Now, Tisha immediately says to Tricia, questioningly, that she went to high school with Martel, and Tricia corrects her by saying that it was Martel's brother. Now, you can smell the future scene set up here. Tisha just said that she only met Tricia twice, However, she already knows to ask if she went to school with Martel, after Tricia blurted out that she knew him. Let's move on. Then, Tisha just has to say she was told that Martel was the good Holt brother and his brother Tez was not the good one. I'm just thinking to myself that I want Tisha to just shut up and work out, or drink her water, or change the subject to something business related. Like the lawsuits that you and your husband are facing. Her water break needs to be over. During this conversation, we've got Tricia calling Martel a prep boy. We find out from Tisha that Marceau knows Tricia's legal husband, but not her almost fiancé, Ken. Is everyone keeping up? Tisha now knows Tricia is still married, but seems okay with it. I wonder if she will feel the need to hide her husband from Tricia like she thought she needed to do with Sunny in episode number 2 of this season. If I am not mistaken, I think that Tisha even mentioned that she went to college with Martel. These people are all too close for comfort. Anyway, Tricia claims she and Ken have a situationship going on after Tisha's interrogation. Someone needs to do an updated version of Billy Paul's Me and Mrs. Jones and dedicate it to Ken and Tricia. Hell, let them star in the video.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
Tricia and Ken definitely have a thing going on, and to be honest, I'm tired of it. Through Tisha's nosiness, we learn that Tricia's divorce is in the works, even though they haven't filed the paperwork. How the fuck is that working out, Tricia? In her confessional, Tisha said, "It sounds like Tricia's husband doesn't want the divorce because he won't sign the papers." Pay attention. Tisha, Tricia said, they haven't even filed. You can't sign paperwork that doesn't exist. Back in scene, they discuss doing a group workout with couples. Oh boy, are they going to leave out Destiny and Mel? From this scene, we learn that Tricia might be related to Nell, but she isn't sure because that's her mom's side of the family. Back in confessional, Tisha age shames Nell, but says that she looks good for her age. Tisha, I bet you that Nell is more age appropriate to be your mother than Wanda actually is. Oops, that's reverse age shaming. Let's move on. In the third scene, we meet up with Melody Cherie, who is hosting a sleepover for her real group of friends. In her confessional, Melody says that it is important to spend time with her single friends since she is newly divorced. Once everyone gets in their pajamas, she takes them into a cutely decorated room with pictures of her and her friends hanging from floating balloon strings. They focus on self-care, pampering, and just being good to themselves while having drinks. Mel just wants to pamper her friends and take care of them since they have been taking care of her with all that she has gone through with her divorce. Shanita's water project in Africa is discussed, as well as all of the unfortunate attempts that her friends have had trying to set her up with different men. In her confessional, Mel explains that she is still in the healing phase for herself and her kids because it is not easy for her to date. Back in scene, Melody reminds us of Martel popping up and recording her when she was out on a date with someone. We all remember. They were divorced, and Martel even showed that video of Melody to their children. That definitely gives Unhinged stalker vibes in my opinion. When they get seated to have dinner, Shanita admits that she doesn't keep up with all of the social media stuff and asks Melody if Martel's actions contribute to why she isn't dating. Shanita then gives Melody advice not to associate with people who are still associating with Martel. They need to pick a side. I mean, who can blame them for feeling this way? In the fourth scene, we find Tricia visiting Stormy at her home, and Stormy is telling Tricia that she needs help pulling off her vision of her lovers and friends gala that she is hosting. Stormy essentially wants her to help her find some topless guys. Then, right on cue, Martel rings the doorbell and Stormy gets up to let him in. Upon entry, with a bottle of Inest wine in tow, Martel asked about the roses on the floor, and Stormy says she will explain. Now, as he enters the room where Tricia is, he extends his hand to introduce himself to her, and tells her that it is nice to meet her. Why does this seem so fake? Maybe Martel wasn't lying when he said that they were actors when he was in Carlos King's comments that time. Tricia admits in her confessional that she got pissed off when Martel walked in acting like he didn't know her. In scene, Stormy says that since they are both from Huntsville, that she's met Martel before, and Tricia very meekly says, "Yeah, yes, I have." Oh my god, Martell is just looking at her, giving a strong Mariah Carey vibe of I don't know her, and then asks Tricia if they have met before. Stormy is looking confused, as if she can't remember her lines, and then Tricia asks Martell how his brother Tez is doing. Like a complete dunce, Martell says to Tricia, "You know my brother, Carlos. Somebody, please end this scene now. Am I watching Love and Marriage, Huntsville After Lockup, or The Never Ever Mets? I just don't know." Then Martell admits that Tricia went to school with his brother Montez. Stormy just can't believe how weird it is. I'm just sitting here thinking about how tired I am of people on this show saying the word weird. But let's move on. Martell claims that Tricia looks different. Interestingly, Tricia thinks that Martell doesn't remember her because she weighed 99 pounds at the time. When Stormy asked when this time was, Martell said to Tricia not to mention the time frame. Mark my words, this time frame is going to be of importance in a future episode. However, Tricia did mention a time frame. She claims that it was a little before Zaria or a little after. I'm assuming Zaria is her daughter. WTF? Martell changes the subject and says that his brother is doing good. Well, actually that he isn't, because he is incarcerated, and that Martell was almost incarcerated with him. In Stormy's confessional, she even asks WTF was that. She thinks she needs to act like Inspector Gadget because they are making her suspicious. If anybody ever watched Inspector Gadget, you'd know that he was a buffoon and that his niece Penny and her dog Brain actually figured everything out. But let's move on. I'm just going to sum up this uncomfortable scene. Long story short, Stormy wants them both to model in her Lovers and Friends gala, scantily clad to promote her body glaze products. This meeting at Stormy's house could have just been an email to Tricia and Martell. Martell goes into confessional and appears to be nervous about showing his body because he hasn't been going to the gym on a regular basis. He said that his body wasn't bodying. Martell, everyone can see your body through the extra tight clothes that you always wear. Plus, how many times are we going to hear the body isn't bodying line in this episode? At least people are paying attention to their talking points and or scripts that they are given. Jeez. We later learn back in scene that Tricia will train Martell at the gym at Stormy's request, despite her not actually training guys. That ends this train wreck of a scene. At least there was some talk of business. Until Stormy tries to collect bones from Tricia about why Martell was acting like he didn't know her. I was just happy the scene ended. Cheers to that. In the fifth scene, Moses and Sunny talk about his meet-up with Destiny. I must admit that I'm still trying to get past the fact that Destiny said that Moses was trying to get her pregnant from day one, as their scene ended. Anyway, first and foremost, Sunny was asking how Destiny was dressed, and Moses tried to explain as best as he could. He recapped their conversation, which essentially just boiled down to both Moses and Sunny stabbing Destiny in her back, that Sunny was her friend, and she has known Moses for 15 years. Sunny said that Destiny doesn't know 5 things about her, where she lives, can't name her friends, etc. In Sunny's confessional, she basically said that she did her job. She gave Destiny advice, produced her, poured into her. But Destiny didn't pour into her cup ever. Sunny has enough friends. Back in the scene, Sunny clarifies what Destiny said to Moses. But then, Sunny simplified the relationship between Destiny and Moses by saying that Destiny was just a side chick being flown in, humped on, and flew back out. What Sunny said took me out and gave me my entire life. Despite laughing so hard at what Sunny said about Destiny, I'm so sick of this storyline. And it looks like Sunny is going to eventually meet up with Destiny for a chat as well. I wonder if this has anything to do with Moses forgetting to wear his wedding ring. Probably not. But I really don't care anymore. Sunny mentioned that Destiny wasn't in a space where she should have been dating with everything that she was going through, and I agree with that. And of course, Sunny had to reiterate that the word friend is overused. Kind of like this storyline, and the word weird is overused in this show. Let's move on. In the 6th and final scene of this tragedy, show, Ken does a special birthday dinner for Tricia, straight from a pre-packed container. Was this DoorDash? Or did you go pick this up, Ken? In his confessional, he admits that he's not been the best at giving gifts and that it could have affected his last relationship, but he's trying to do better with Tricia. Ken finishes setting up the dinner table and calls for Tricia to join him in the dining room. Once they get seated for dinner, Ken gives her the birthday present that he got for her, which was a cute bracelet. In her confessional, she states that Ken has stepped up and formed a great bond with her kids. Together in confessional, he says he enjoys making her happy and making her smile. He then says that she doesn't smile often, but he loves it when she smiles because of him. Back in scene, he asks her what she wants to do for her birthday. Apparently, she wants to stay home and do nothing since they don't have the kids with them. Maybe just watch a movie. Now, Ken asks if she wants to watch something scary, and she says it's either that or something with killing. Wait, what the hell? Ken better sleep with one eye open. Actually, Ken, don't go to sleep at all. Wait for her to go to sleep. Then leave and get to safety. Tricia pivots the direction of the conversation and tells Ken that she met with Tisha, and that she thinks Tisha is cool and will continue to train her. Then, she tells Ken about modeling at Stormy's Lovers and Friends event and her encounter with Martel at Stormy's house. We learn that Tricia and Ken see Martel all of the time and even went to his magazine party. Ugh. At this point, just go ahead and tell me if you slept with Martel or his brother Tricia. I'm tired of all of the waiting and guessing games. There's no point in dragging this out any longer. To round out the show, Ken asks Tricia about their relationship. We learn that when Ken was shopping for her birthday bracelet, he was also looking at rings. He can't buy the engagement ring until she is divorced. Of course, Tricia wants to know how much time she has to get things handled with her divorce. But it appears that Ken is having doubts on whether or not Tricia wants to move forward with him and leave her husband. Then, Tricia admits to him that every time they talk about marriage that it is scary. Ken just wants to know if her intentions are to actually marry him. Wasn't she just in a confessional last week saying how she wanted a big wedding? I'm so tired of this. Carlos King. Make it make sense or make it stop. Of course, after this nonsense, we see that the scene will be continued in next week's episode. I guess that they are milking every ounce of this situationship between Ken and Tricia. Don't worry, I will be back to recap next week's episode. Please make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you never miss an episode of the Aries Girl podcast. I'll see you on the next podcast. Until then, take care.